0.74. That is the number representing the future of a nation. While the rest of the world is captivated by the flawless choreography of K-pop, the cutting-edge technology of Samsung, and the hyper-modern skyline of Seoul, South Korea is undergoing a quiet but profound transformation. This isn't just a story about a declining birth rate. It's about a nation that rose from the ashes of poverty to achieve total global dominance, only to find that its greatest success has created its greatest challenge. For decades, the miracle on the Han River was the blueprint for every developing country. South Korea won the game of capitalism. It secured the wealth, the soft power, and the technological supremacy. But today, a new sentiment is echoing through the streets of Seoul. Hell Korea. It is a term coined by the youth to describe a society that feels like an inescapable pressure cooker. They aren't protesting in the streets or calling for revolution. Instead, they are doing something much quieter and more permanent. They are simply opting out. In the next 15 minutes, we are going to look behind the neon lights to understand why success in South Korea has become unsustainable. We'll explore a system where children are treated like commodities on a production line, where your identity is reduced to a rank, and where the cost of living has outpaced the value of a future. This is not just a documentary about a distant country. It is a warning to every society that prioritizes efficiency over humanity. Pay attention, because if you live in a modern city, this story is already about you. In South Korea, the race doesn't start at graduation. It starts before a child can even speak their own name. This is the manufacturing of the perfect citizen. While children in the West explore their world through play, many Korean toddlers are already enrolled in English kindergartens. These are high-stakes environments where the annual tuition can exceed $20,000. It is the first step in a 12-year industrial process designed to ensure that the child never falls behind. By the time they reach elementary school, the Hagwon cycle consumes their entire existence. Imagine a child finishing a full day of government-mandated school only to be shuttled to private academies for math, science, and English until midnight. If you walk through the district of Daechidong at 10 p.m., you will see a sight that looks more like a night shift at a factory than an educational hub. Hundreds of buses clog the streets as thousands of children finish their second shift. This isn't about the love of learning. It is an educational arms race fueled by parental anxiety. Many parents know this system is harmful, but in a society with no safety net, love quietly turns into fear. Parents spend over $20 billion a year on private tutoring. They aren't doing this because they want their children to be geniuses. They're doing it because they are terrified. They live in a society that tells them there is only one narrow path to a dignified life. If a child falls behind by even a few points, they are told they have failed before they've even begun. The culmination of this pressure is the Sunung, the national entrance exam. For 8 hours, the entire nation holds its breath. Planes are grounded so as not to disturb the listening portion of the test. The stock market opens late. Police motorcycles are on standby to rush late students to the exam halls. It is a national ritual, but for the students, it is a day of trauma. They have been taught that their entire human value is tied to their rank on this piece of paper. This system has successfully created the most highly educated workforce in history, but it has done so by stripping away the margin for error, curiosity, and happiness. They are learning how to be efficient workers, but they are never taught how to build a life they actually want to live. The ultimate goal of this brutal education system is to climb over the Chaebol Wall. In Korea, your life's security is often determined by whether or not you can enter one of the massive family-owned conglomerates, Samsung, Hyundai, LG, SK, or Lotte. These 5 giants generate revenue equivalent to nearly half of the entire nation's GDP. To understand why people are so obsessed with these companies, you have to understand the trauma of the 1997 IMF crisis. Before the late 90s, South Korea had a culture of lifetime employment. But when the economy collapsed, millions of middle-class fathers were fired overnight. It was a national humiliation that rewired the Korean psyche. The parents who survived that era became the victims of a deep, systemic fear. They passed this fear down to their children, teaching them that stability is the only thing that matters. This has created a dual labor market. For many graduates, the choice feels brutally simple. Make it into a chaebol or accept a life that feels permanently temporary. If you land a job at a chaebol, you have a gold spoon. You have high wages, social prestige, and a ticket to a stable family life. But for the other 90%, life is a struggle in the shadows. They work for subcontractors who are constantly squeezed by the giants. They have half the pay, zero job security, and their work hours are some of the longest in the developed world. The Miracle on the Han River was built on the idea that if the top companies succeed, everyone succeeds. But the youth of today are realizing that the benefits are no longer trickling down. They look at the 3-5 rule, a common legal phenomenon where chaebol heirs receive suspended sentences for crimes that would put a normal person in prison for years, and they see a modern monarchy. They feel like spare parts in a corporate machine that values their labor but doesn't guarantee their future. The game feels rigged from the start, and the seat at the table is already reserved for someone else. Even for those who survive the education system and enter the workforce, the competition never ends. It just changes form. This is the Spec War. Specs are the qualifications on your resume, but in modern Korea, the checklist has become absurd. You need perfect English scores, multiple internships, and volunteer hours. But recently, a more intimate form of competition has emerged, the commodification of personality and appearance. South Korea has become the plastic surgery capital of the world, but this isn't about vanity. It is about lookism as a labor spec. In a hyper-competitive market where thousands of candidates have the same perfect grades, recruiters often look at photos before they look at qualifications. Being unattractive is often interpreted by society as a lack of self-management. Parents now give double eyelid surgery as high school graduation presents, not as a gift of beauty, but as a competitive edge for a job interview. But the surveillance goes even deeper into the human soul. Many companies have started using MBTI personality types as a filter for hiring. If you are an I for introvert, you might be excluded from certain roles before you even speak. Your personality, something that should evolve over the lifetime, is frozen into a few letters before you're even hired. This creates a society of constant self-monitoring. People are no longer just living, they are constantly optimizing themselves for a market that is already oversaturated. It is a psychological trap where you are never enough. You are constantly told that if you aren't succeeding, it is because you haven't worked hard enough, you aren't thin enough, or your personality isn't extroverted enough. This is the engine of burnout. South Korea is the most connected nation on Earth, but this connectivity has come at a high psychological price. In a culture where your value is determined by your rank, social media has turned life into a 24/7 game of status comparison. There is a powerful cultural term, gwasi, the pressure to look successful, even when that success is borrowed. On platforms like Instagram, the pressure to appear successful is overwhelming. People bankrupt themselves to buy luxury bags, visit 5-star hotels, and post perfect meals. This isn't just about narcissism, it is a defensive action. In a society that is shrinking and becoming more competitive, looking poor or average is social suicide. This is why South Korea has the highest household debt to GDP ratio in the world. People are spending money they don't have to maintain an image of a life they can't afford. This status anxiety has destroyed the concept of enough. No matter what you achieve, your feed is constantly bombarding you with someone who is wealthier, more traveled, and more perfect. This creates a hollow feeling of inadequacy. The youth are running a race toward a version of happiness that is purely performative. They are too busy curating their lives for others to actually live them for themselves. It is a cycle of envy and exhaustion that leaves no room for community or genuine human connection. This systemic pressure has fueled a profound gender disconnect that is unique to South Korea's demographic crisis. Young men and women no longer see each other as partners in building a future. They increasingly see each other as rivals in a shrinking economy. Young men are burdened by nearly 2 years of mandatory military service. They feel they are losing their prime years and being unfairly judged while they fall behind in the job market. At the same time, young women are staging a radical rejection of the patriarchal structures that have oppressed them for generations. They've seen their mothers sacrifice everything for the family, only to be treated like second-class citizens. This has led to the 4B movement, which stands for no dating, no marriage, and no children. The government has tried to solve the birth rate by offering cash incentives and housing subsidies, but they are fundamentally missing the point. You cannot fix a broken social fabric with a check. When young people can no longer imagine a future together, when they view marriage as an additional risk rather than a source of support, the demographic collapse becomes inevitable. It is a society that has optimized for individual success so much that it has made the collective project of the family feel impossible. The final and most physical barrier to the future is housing. In Seoul, the average apartment now costs 18 times the average annual salary. For a young worker starting their career, buying a home is no longer a difficult goal. It is a mathematical fantasy. This is why the movie Parasite resonated so deeply across the globe. The banjiha, the semi-basement apartment, is a real cage for millions. When you live in a space where you can only see the feet of the wealthy walking above your head, your perspective on the world changes. You realize that you are the foundation upon which their luxury is built, but you will never be allowed to enter their world. Young Koreans have looked at the hell their parents built, the 100-hour work weeks, the crushing debt, and the endless comparison, and they have made the most rational yet heartbreaking decision. They are quietly opting out. They are boycotting the system. By choosing not to reproduce within this structure, they are telling the gods of the economy, if you want a future, you should have given us a life worth living. South Korea is the canary in the coal mine. It is the extreme laboratory of late-stage capitalism, showing us what happens when a society prioritizes GDP over human dignity and efficiency over empathy. They ran a race at 100 miles per hour, only to realize that no one ever asked where the finish line was supposed to be. The question isn't how South Korea will survive. The question is, who is next? Are we building a world our children actually want to live in? Or are we all just running toward our own version of an unsustainable success? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if you want to understand the systems shaping our future, hit subscribe. Thank you for watching.